You're not broke because you don't make enough. You're broke because money keeps playing your emotions like a puppet. And you already know it. You earn. You try to save. You start investing. Then one bad week hits. And you panic. One flex shows up on your feed. And you spend. One easy opportunity appears. And you chase. And suddenly you're back at zero. In this video, you're going to learn the real reason most people stay stuck financially. Even smart people. Not because they don't know the rules, but because they don't understand themselves. You'll learn why your brain hates patience, why status keeps you trapped, why fear makes you sell too early, why ego makes you take risks you can't afford, and how the calmest person in the room quietly becomes the richest. This isn't a money video. It's a psychology video disguised as finance. And by the end, you'll know exactly what's been sabotaging you and how to fix it without becoming obsessed, greedy, or fake. Let's get into it. Chapter 1. You think money is about math. It's about you. Why do you really want money? Not the polite answer. Not the one you tell friends. I mean the quiet reason. The one you don't say out loud. The Psychology of Money was written by Morgan Housel. Not a Wall Street prophet. Not a mathematician. A writer who watched how smart people failed with money. And how ordinary people built quiet wealth. He wrote it because numbers don't explain behavior. People do. He said doing well with money has little to do with how smart you are, and a lot to do with how you behave when fear and pride enter the room. You think money is about spreadsheets, but it's about your childhood, your envy, your need to be seen. Housel argues that financial success is not a hard science. It's soft skills, patience, restraint, humility. That sounds simple. It is not. Daniel Kahneman discovered in 1979 that loss hurts about twice as much as gain feels good. This is loss aversion. It explains why you panic sell, why you cling to dying investments, why you fear missing out more than you value peace. The market doesn't break you. Your nervous system does. This might sound harsh, but if you don't master your reactions, money will master you. And it will not be kind. Marcus Aurelius said you have power over your mind, not outside events. Money lives outside. Behavior lives inside. So the real question is not, how do you earn more? It is, can you carry it without it exposing you? This is not a finance lesson. It's a mirror, and you may not like what you see. Chapter 2. You don't want wealth. You want control. What scares you more, being broke or being trapped? Because most people don't chase money for luxury. They chase it for air, for space, for the right to say no without shaking. Morgan Housel wrote something sharp. Wealth is what you don't see. It's not the car, not the watch, not the loud proof. It's the gap between what you earn and what you spend, stored quietly. He explains that rich is current income, wealth is hidden time. And time is the only thing you can't borrow without paying interest in your soul. This is where people get fooled. They think money's job is to impress. But money's real job is to free you. The most dangerous word in finance is more. Because more has no finish line. And a finish line is what keeps you sane. In 1974, psychologists Philip Brickman and Donald Campbell described the hedonic treadmill. You adapt fast. New money becomes normal. New comfort becomes expected. The reward fades. The hunger stays. So you upgrade again and again until you're earning well, but living like a hostage. This might look devilish, but it's real. Many people don't go broke from low income. They go broke from high ego. Seneca warned that poverty isn't having little. It's wanting more. That's not poetry. That's strategy. Because the moment you need to prove something, you become controllable. A boss can control you. A lender can control you. A lifestyle can control you. So ask yourself seriously, if you lost your income tomorrow, how long would your life still belong to you? Money is not peace, but it can buy the space where peace becomes possible. And the man who owns his time is already ahead of the man who owns the room. Chapter 3. You think you're rational. You're just emotional with a calculator. Why did you buy that last thing? Was it logic? Or was it fear dressed as logic? Morgan Housel makes it clear. People don't make financial decisions on spreadsheets. They make them in rooms filled with memory, pride, and insecurity. Then they justify them with numbers later. You call it strategy, but often, it's just emotion with a calculator. In 2000, psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky showed how overconfidence bias shapes decisions. People consistently overestimate their knowledge and underestimate risk. Investors believe they are above average. CEOs believe they can't fail. You believe you'll figure it out. Statistically, most of you won't. This is not an insult. It's human wiring. Overconfidence feels like strength, but it blinds you to probability. Even Nietzsche warned that conviction can be more dangerous than lies, because conviction shuts down doubt. And doubt, when disciplined, is wisdom. Look at financial bubbles. They don't grow from ignorance alone. They grow from certainty. You see others win, you feel urgency. You mistake momentum for mastery. You enter late, convinced you're early. This is how markets punish ego. Sun Tzu said every battle is won before it is fought. In money terms, that means your temperament decides your outcome before your portfolio does. Here's the hard truth. You are not immune to hype, status pressure, or fear of missing out. No one is. The brain wants safety in crowds, even when the crowd is running toward a cliff. So what's the discipline? Slow down. Demand evidence. Assume you might be wrong, not because you are weak, but because you are human. And money, like life, punishes the unaware more than the unskilled. Chapter 4. You want to get rich fast, but you don't respect time. Be honest. How long are you willing to wait? Not for a weekend trip. Not for a new phone. I mean real wealth. Real stability. Real freedom. Morgan Housel wrote that compounding is the eighth wonder of the world. But only if you don't interrupt it. The problem isn't that people don't understand compound interest. It's that they underestimate how long it demands. Time is boring, and boredom feels like failure. That's why people jump strategies, switch investments, chase trends, reset the clock. In 1994, psychologist Walter Mischel showed in his delayed gratification experiments that the ability to wait predicted better life outcomes years later. The child who resisted the second marshmallow often became the adult who resisted destructive impulses. Money follows the same law. Those who can delay pleasure, multiply it. This might sound cruel, but impatience is expensive. You don't lose wealth only by bad decisions. You lose it by refusing to sit still. Marcus Aurelius wrote that nature loves patience. A seed does not argue with winter. It endures it. Markets crash. Economies freeze. Your portfolio bleeds. And if you panic, you break the cycle that was building your future. Compounding is not just financial. It's psychological. Discipline compounds. Reputation compounds. Habits compound. But so does panic. So does debt. So does envy. You want the reward of time without submitting to its pace. That's the contradiction. Wealth is not built in dramatic moves. It is built in sustained restraint. And if you cannot sit with slow growth, you will chase fast destruction. Time is not your enemy. Your restlessness is. Chapter 5. You call it luck, but you ignore risk. Tell me something. When you see someone win big, do you study their discipline, or do you envy their outcome? Be honest. Morgan Housel said this clearly. Luck and risk are siblings. They look different, but they're born from the same randomness. The problem is you only celebrate one of them. You study success stories as if they are blueprints, while ignoring the silent graveyard of people who did the same thing and failed. This is survivorship bias. In 1950, Abraham Wald analyzed damaged warplanes and discovered something unsettling. The planes that returned weren't proof of where to add armor. The missing planes were the real data, the ones that never came back. What you see is incomplete. The same is true in money. You see the entrepreneur who made millions. You don't see the 100 who went bankrupt. You see the investor who bet everything and won. You don't see the ones who bet everything and vanished. This might sound dark, but outcomes can lie. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this. Fortune favors the bold. Yes, but fortune also destroys the reckless. You can't worship boldness without respecting risk. Risk is what remains after you think you've thought of everything. And here's the uncomfortable part. You are not special to probability. The market does not care about your confidence. Debt does not care about your optimism. Time does not care about your narrative. So what do? You build margin. You leave room for error. You survive. Because survival is the first rule of compounding. Not brilliance, not timing, not hype, just survival. If you can stay in the game long enough, luck has time to find you. If you can't, risk will. The video is half finished. If you like the video, be sure to comment and watch the next steps. Chapter 6. You keep losing because you need certainty. What do you do when you don't know what will happen next? Do you pause? Or do you force a decision just to feel in control? Because that's the hidden addiction, certainty. Morgan Housel explains that the world is too complex for clean predictions. History is not a straight line. It's a chain of surprises. And the people who get hurt most aren't the ones who are wrong sometimes. It's the ones who can't accept uncertainty at all. They need answers. They need guarantees. They need a story that feels safe. So they buy confidence. They follow gurus. They chase sure things. They borrow money to speed up fate. This might sound bad, but certainty is one of the most expensive drugs on earth. In 1999, psychologists Justin Kruger and David Dunning showed that people with low skill often overestimate their ability. This is the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's not just about being ignorant. It's about being unaware of your ignorance. That's why confident people sound convincing. They don't feel doubt. They don't even know what doubt is. But money is not impressed by confidence. Money is impressed by preparation. Stoicism teaches something most people hate. You don't control outcomes. You control responses. That's it. Sun Tzu didn't promise victory. He promised advantage. He said the wise warrior wins by positioning, not by prediction. Finance works the same way. You don't need to know the future. You need to survive many futures. So the discipline is simple, but not easy. Expect chaos. Plan for pain. Don't bet your life on being right, because the future doesn't reward certainty. It rewards resilience. And the moment you accept uncertainty, you stop being easy to manipulate. Chapter 7. You're not broke. You're just addicted to status. Let's go there. When you spend money, are you buying the thing, or are you buying a version of yourself? Because most spending is not practical. It's psychological. Morgan Housel said that people often want to be richer, not to have more, but to be admired. That's the trap. Wealth becomes theater, and the audience becomes your master. This might look harmless, but status spending is a quiet form of slavery. In 1954, psychologist Leon Festinger discovered social comparison theory. People measure their worth by comparing themselves to others. That means your happiness becomes relative. And relative happiness is unstable, because there will always be someone ahead of you. Always. So you upgrade. Not because you need it, but because you felt small for 5 minutes. And those 5 minutes cost you years. Robert Frank studied this in 2005 and showed that people often spend more when neighbors earn more, even if their own income didn't change. Your environment can hijack your financial decisions without asking permission. This is why a good salary still feels like pressure. The problem isn't money. The problem is the scoreboard. Nietzsche understood this poison. The herd teaches you what to want. Then it punishes you if you refuse. And if you don't know yourself, you will obey the herd while calling it ambition. Stoicism offers a brutal freedom. If you don't need applause, you can't be controlled by the crowd. So ask yourself, what would you stop buying if nobody could see it? And what would you start building if you stopped trying to prove you belong? Because the fastest way to stay broke is to keep purchasing acceptance. Chapter 8. You don't need more income. You need a stronger identity. Who are you when nobody is watching? Not your job title, not your follower count, not your bank balance, just you. Morgan Housel points out something most people miss. Saving is not a number problem. It's an ego problem. People with high incomes still live paycheck to paycheck because their identity requires constant feeding. They don't spend to live. They spend to stay emotionally stable. This might sound harsh, but some people don't use money. They use money to numb themselves. In 1988, psychologists Roy Baumeister and colleagues studied self-control and showed it works like a limited resource. When your identity is fragile, you spend that resource constantly, resisting temptations, fighting insecurity, proving yourself. Eventually, you get tired, and tired people don't make wise decisions. They make comforting ones. That's why late-night spending feels deserved. That's why risky bets feel necessary. That's why discipline collapses after stress. Because you weren't managing money, you were managing pain. Stoicism teaches identity is built from principles, not outcomes. Marcus Aurelius didn't say, win and you'll be calm. He said, be calm, even if you lose. That's the power. When your identity is stable, you don't need purchases to hold you together. You can save without feeling deprived. You can invest without needing excitement. You can work without being owned by work. Here's the twist. The goal isn't to become a person who has more money. It's to become a person who needs less validation. Because the more validation you need, the more expensive life becomes. So ask yourself, what part of you is still begging to be proven? Because money will gladly try to prove it for you, and it will keep charging interest. Chapter 9. You fear missing out, but you should fear losing control. Let me ask you something real. When you see others win big, crypto spikes, stocks fly, businesses explode, what do you feel first? Excitement or anxiety that you're late? That anxiety has a name. Fear of missing out. Morgan Housel warned that envy drives more financial mistakes than ignorance. Because envy feels urgent. It whispers, act now or regret forever. And regret, to the ego, feels worse than loss. In 2001, psychologist Sheena Iyengar found that too many options reduce satisfaction and increase stress. The more doors you see, the more afraid you are of picking the wrong one. Markets today give you infinite doors, infinite comparisons, infinite temptation, and you're not wired for that. This might sound blunt, but FOMO is a manipulation tool. Media sells urgency. Influencers sell highlight reels. Markets sell speed. You buy pressure. Sun Tzu said that if your opponent is of choleric temper, seek to irritate him. Modern markets do this well. They provoke you. They flash gains. They show you what you could have had. And suddenly, patience feels like weakness. But here's the deeper danger. FOMO makes you trade your strategy for someone else's timeline. You abandon your plan. You chase momentum. You increase risk beyond your tolerance. And when the wave turns, it always turns. You are exposed. Stoicism doesn't teach you to ignore opportunity. It teaches you to ignore emotional urgency. Because urgency clouds judgment. And judgment is your last line of defense. Ask yourself, if this opportunity disappears tomorrow, does your life collapse? If yes, you built your peace on unstable ground. Missing a gain is painful, but losing control of yourself? That's expensive in ways money can't repair. So slow down. The market will always offer another story. Your character may not survive another panic. Chapter 10. You don't actually want money. You want peace. Let's finish this honestly. If you had enough money tomorrow, what would you really do? Would you buy more? Or would you finally breathe? Morgan Housel wrote that the highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up and say, I can do what I want today. That's it. Not yachts, not headlines, just autonomy. But here's the twist. If your mind is restless now, more money will not calm it. It will amplify it. In 2010, Daniel Gilbert said humans are poor at predicting what will make them happy. We imagine future wealth as permanent relief. But adaptation resets the baseline. The anxiety returns, just dressed in better clothes. This might sting, but if you don't know how to be content with enough, you will never recognize enough. And that's the quiet tragedy. Throughout this journey, you've seen the pattern. Impatience destroys compounding. Ego inflates risk. Status drains freedom. Certainty blinds judgment. FOMO hijacks strategy. The enemy was never money. It was you unmanaged. Stoicism doesn't reject wealth. It rejects dependence. Seneca was wealthy, but he practiced poverty in his mind so he wouldn't fear losing comfort. That's strength. Not denial, but detachment. Because peace is not built from accumulation. It is built from proportion. You earn. You save. You invest. You prepare for risk. You accept uncertainty. You refuse comparison. And slowly, quietly, you gain something deeper than profit. Stability. And stability creates dignity. So ask yourself one last time, if money stopped being a scoreboard, what kind of life would you build? Because at the end of this road, the real return on investment is not numbers. It's the ability to sit alone with your choices and feel steady. That is wealth. Everything else is noise. Thank you very much for watching my video, and please like and subscribe to my channel.